I want to run through some notable pranks and just what comes to mind, or get you to recall some of the moments. The first one being the statues of your parents.
Yes, they don't really like me talking about that one, actually. So that's the one that they really don't like talking about. For some reason, they're very offended by that. So in fairness to them, they really don't like that one, so I'm not going to talk about it too much.
Genuinely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can I ask what they don't like about that? Because it's so blatantly a joke.
I don't know, really. I think it's just that trying to choose my words carefully here because I don't want to make it worse by talking about it. But I don't know. I just think that it's like maybe my parents are a little more conservative than I thought they were. So like the idea of it being kind of, and the imagery was something that they were not happy with.
I don't know if I should be laughing or not. But one.
I mean, it was supposed to be funny.
One would think out of all the stuff you have done that
I think it was the fact it was on the front lawn, the neighbors could see it, and it was, the imagery was embarrassing to them. Whereas, painting the house plaid or, things like that was sort of a less...
Or having a lesbian,
but it was
sex scene on their car.
But they were anonymous lesbians, right? They weren't actually them. Lifelike images of them, with facial features exactly the same.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I think my parents really like lesbians. So to show my parents how much I love them, I've turned my parents' vehicle into more than just a vehicle. I've turned it into the Slutmobile. Won't Mom and Dad be surprised and overwhelmed tomorrow morning when they get up to go to work?
And I think this was sort of like, this was the time where, the show had moved to the U.S. and they maybe were thinking that the pranks were going to end, and then we flew back in the middle of the night. Now we had a budget, and we showed up with sort of elaborate things. So
they threatened MTV over that, didn't they?
Yeah, that's true. It was very different than any of the shows that followed it. Even going as far as the Osbournes or the Kardashians or Osbournes was on MTV. Families, joking around with each other, everybody on camera, everybody getting paid, right? Everybody had a contract with MTV. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying this was genuinely, they were so surprised when we pulled into the pranks, like they didn't even really know there was a show at first, or they didn't really know that we were coming, and they weren't being paid, they weren't part of it. It appears we were barging into their house every day, but really it was more like, every couple of weeks we'd go in and do a prank, and then, it would, over time, over years, we'd had, dozens and dozens of these pranks we did to them.
But I do understand just the, any kind of negative feelings they had about the pranks at that time were kind of lessened after Oprah called, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of, in a weird way, made a big difference.
Yeah, and, in all fairness, like, my parents were really excited and proud of the show. And
as they should have been.
There was never a moment where my parents were sort of, disowning me because I pulled pranks on them or anything like that. There was never a moment where there was real negativity about it. There was moments where they were upset about something for a couple of days, but there was never sort of a long-term period where my parents were like, we don't want to talk to you anymore or anything like that. It was always, they would always kind of snap out of it after a few days and realize, that painting the house was actually really funny when they saw it all put together and on TV. So, but yeah, when Oprah called, it was a sort of a moment where they realized that things maybe were actually working out for me, right? Because the show had moved to New York. I hadn't been on any other talk show yet. And then all of a sudden, Oprah called and wanted to fly my parents to Chicago and talk about all the pranks. And we played the car and the house and the waking up pranks on Oprah and watched them. And Oprah would laugh, really laugh really hard, and my parents were there with Oprah, and Oprah's laughing at me painting the pornography in my parents' car, and like going, oh my God, this is actually this is actually funny, you know. No, they knew it was funny, but now it was a new level of acceptance by the sort of something that, you know. And then to top it off, at the end of the interview, Oprah, you know, would sort of set it up where I would give them a trip to. You remember Oprah always gave away a car? Mm-hmm. Well, now I gave my parents a trip to Tahiti, and they got this all-inclusive trip to Tahiti for, you know, 16 days, and they're like, whoa, you can see their look on their face, and she's sort of like, Oprah's got her arm around her, and she's sitting there like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, you know, and so that was kind of there'd been little sort of smaller sort of things that had happened along the way that sort of indicated that my life was moving in a good direction. But I think when they came to Chicago, we went on Oprah, and then they got flown off to Tahiti, and they realized that maybe they could stop worrying about me for a minute.
I wanted to bring up two other pranks that just involve family members and get what you recall. The first one being the one your mom brought up, the cow's head.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just, we just happened to have a cow's head, and
what do you mean you just happened to have?
Well, we had zero budget, right? Like the show was something that we were essentially volunteering to do.
An hour a week with no money to produce it.
No money to produce it.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning right now. My parents are inside sleeping. My parents love the movie The Godfather, so I'm going to wake them up in a Godfather-style fashion with this dead cow's head. They're gonna love this.
We were always looking for props that were something strange that we could get for free or cheap, you know. So, you know, one day thought, maybe we could go down to an abattoir and get some decapitated cow's heads and throw them in my parents' bed or something like that, you know. So, you know, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And so that's what we did.
This is a message from Don Corleone. It says, Luca Brazzi sleeps with the fishes.
That was one where she called me the next day, actually upset. Still aired it, but I felt a little bad about it. You know, she felt like, you know, I felt like, oh, this is sort of, you know, honestly, I didn't quite understand why she was so upset, because I was sort of thinking, you see what we're doing here, right? Like it's got to do something weird for the show, or it's not going to get a reaction, right? And the more stuff you would do, the more it would take to get a reaction, right? So you just waking them up in the middle of the night with a, you know, funny premise of some sort wasn't enough anymore. So Monica Lewinsky barging into their bedroom in the middle of the night was when I knew they were no longer going to be surprised by anything anymore. Because we'd been in LA, Monica Lewinsky was friends with some people who worked on our show, and we decided to fly up to Ottawa and run the entire media on a wild goose chase with Monica Lewinsky. At the time was like the biggest thing in the news.
And nobody could get an interview with her.
And nobody could get an interview with her, yeah. But it was, I thought it was pretty cool example of doing stuff with the Tom Green show that was, doing stuff with the show that was kind of had a deeper subtext to it than just being wacky, you know, like we were making a political commentary about the nature of the media and how they were sort of obsessing over this woman who'd been in this situation and, you know, chasing her around and making sort of, you know, jokes at her expense, you know, which is sort of the polar opposite of the world we're living into today, where it was, you know, here was a young woman who'd been through something that was debatably sort of, or probably would be considered sort of abuse, really, in a way, you know, or whatever. I don't know what word you want to use for it, but it was, you know, she was a young girl put through a tough situation, right, and to have everybody making fun of her on every single talk show, including talk shows that I loved, you know, was probably a traumatic thing for her. And so here we are, one of the weirdest, sort of goofiest, strangest shows on TV that's a talk show, and we took her up to Canada and we made the media the butt of the joke. The media that was making fun of her, now we, with her, made fun of the media by showing the absurdity of the sort of the pack nature of journalism, right? Where we went on a local public access show at my old station to make an announcement, right? And everybody thought, we sort of teased it like the announcement was we were going to get engaged, right?
Yeah.
But really, it was sort of a sleight of hand. We were trying to make them want to get this big announcement, and then we went on the public access station and we made an announcement that tomorrow we're going to be making another announcement. That's the announcement today, because we wanted to get the media to come. Then we went to this location in Ottawa, and international media from all around, hundreds of satellite trucks came around, and then the announcement was some bogus announcement that we were here to find fabric for her handbag company, and we barged into my parents' bedroom in the middle of the night and got their bed sheets and made some handbags out of it. My dad got up and said, "Oh, Monica, how you doing?" And he was not surprised, and that's when I knew, okay, the pranks are coming to an end here. So